Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Last year around week 10, for those of you who subscribe to the main channel, you know that I do these head-to-head battles, these head-to-head showdowns, cage matches with some friends of mine in the industry, some other people that I always want to work with in the industry. It's a great way to bring new people onto the show, maybe to introduce the audience to, or just people that I've wanted to work with for a long time, and I get a chance to do that. Last year around week 10, I had Peter Jennings, CSURAM88 from Fantasy Labs on the show. And he was kind enough to stay after the recording for about 30 or 45 minutes. And that's been sitting in my VODs on Twitch for about a year. You guys really liked the conversation that Drew Dinkmeyer and I had last week. We made it into episode 2 here of Game in the Game podcast. So I dug up the old show that had Peter Jennings on it, and I've created the Gaming the Game episode 3. And I hope that you guys enjoy the conversation that we had.
That's a problem. Derrick Henry's another guy who just sets up better on other sites. Like, I'll have Derrick Henry for sure on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Like, I've been much better on FanDuel too, for what it's worth. I mean, it's been a very, very strong year over there, but
I've been doing better there recently than on DK. Yeah. Like, DK is very, very tough this year. Well, like, you saw the tournament that I was in the, what is it, the $55 last week?
Mm-hmm.
And I had 4 or 5 lineups in the top 100. And I broke stone even in that tournament.
Yeah,
40% of my lineups cashed. I had one that was 8th. And like this is where the industry is. It's like, if you don't win, you lose. If you don't win the tournament, you lose money. That's it.
It's literally, you have to give yourself a chance to get first. And
you have to bank.
I mean,
I came in 8th. Like, you know, like if Ertz catches a touchdown late, I win that tournament. Right? Like when they were coming back and like and Wentz got the 4th down or whatever, like all of a sudden, like it shouldn't be that thin. And that's why I always come back to, like, you know, first place, 10th place should be 10% of first place. So like if first place is 100 grand, 10th place should be like 10 grand, but 8th place was 2K and first place was 100.
Yeah.
So like,
I saw on Twitter, someone just said that CSU's cage team might be stone dead. It's so true. Oh,
and you didn't pick Amari Cooper.
I didn't pick him. I didn't do anything on brand either. That's just so sad. I had some brand plays too, but man, it's sad. But yeah, to go to your point, I think for those out there playing, you know, still grinding DFS hard, it's just so different than when we were coming up in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really easy to make money for a long time, and now you just have to. I mean, you have to be very selective, or you have to be doing something different. Because you look at cash games. I'm looking at NBA, and it's actually been a strong start in NBA. But you know, I'm looking at the signal versus the results. Like last night, you know, had a 200% ROI, but it's because I picked the right 2v2. Like guys are 80-90% owned. I mean, that's when you're looking at GPP. Oh, it's insane.
In tournaments. Like that was
Anthony Simmons was 93%, McCollum's 90%. Like, yeah,
you know,
everyone's on all the right good plays.
The last night that I played NBA, and there's a reason why it was the last night I played NBA, was the first time that Russ was out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I was like, okay, Harden's gonna be the play. I'm gonna put 80% Harden. I'm gonna try and overweight the field because I think he'll be like 50 to 65% owned. I'll have a little bit more than the field. He was 78% owned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'm like, this game's dumb.
It's true.
This game is dumb now if this many people have it. So like, I think that we talked about this on stream, and we can talk about something. I got a question in chat for you. Steve Boynton, thank you for the 100 bits. Genuinely want to know how Pete navigates the lobby of both sites entering 3 and 5 mans. All buy-in levels at all hours of the week. Is there a CSU intern position?
Is there a CSU intern? There should be. I'm much more active on FanDuel. Draftkings is tough. I've had to be more selective, but yeah, it's a grind. I mean, that's really what you have to do at this point in time in the industry is you have to really hunt for those good games. So looking at my RotoTracker results too, one thing that's just unbelievable the last 2 years is just the majority of my money, like 90% of my money has been made $100 and less. I've been a losing player the last 2 years, $1,000 and more. And I'm breaking basically even, winning a small amount between $100 to $1,000. So I'm looking for those cheaper games still and just really trying to grind it out. But if you look historically, my the best buy-in for me, from like 2014 or whenever the games came out, the 5Ks and 10Ks, were those games. But now it's really hard to find great games. And there's been a couple. I've had like one or two head-to-heads this year, but it's tricky, man. And especially too, like, I think one interesting thing in the industry is that because it's gotten a lot thinner and a lot of these top pros are used to making X amount of dollars, they're getting a little more desperate and they're doing some crazy things. So you're seeing pros scoop up, 5 and 10K games, which obviously makes no sense.
And capping them. You want to explain capping because most of these guys don't really.
Yeah. So 3-mans, that's happening a ton now as well. So a big game that a lot of, more novice players are just, rich guys who want to have fun. They'll play 3-mans, and historically it'd be 2 pros and a bit more casual player. Now we're seeing, guys have ego battles and they're getting desperate because games have gotten thinner, and you're seeing 3 pro head-to-heads. And that's where other people get really frustrated, is when, a pro will cap 2 other pros because everyone's losing to the rake, which is happening a lot more. So yeah, it's a tougher industry, but the entertainment's still there, and it's definitely shifted even more towards tournaments, and you got to play to win. And that's something I think is really hard. How have you been attacking that, Smizz?
Okay, so I don't play nosebleeds the way that you play nosebleeds, first of all. Pete resides in the 5K, 10K head-to-head 3-man streets, and I never really I gamble, but that's just not where I wanted to live. I never wanted to make my bread at that level. I viewed it historically based on the different eras that this game has gone through, right? Mm-hmm. So I started playing in 2012. You were already on the scene in 2012, and you won the FanDuel football championship in December of that year.
Yeah.
So that was the wild, wild west back in 2012. Nobody knew what the hell they were doing.
True.
Literally nobody knew what the hell they were doing. That was one era, right? And if you had any clue what you were doing with game theory in tournaments, if you had any idea about stacking and how powerful that was,
people didn't even know to stack in baseball, let alone football, in 2012-13.
Paying down at quarterback was what are you doing? I want to have Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees in my lineup. What do you mean you're playing Russ Wilson? Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
So, because Draft Street had 2 quarterbacks. So paying down at quarterback was not in vogue. It wasn't a thing that people did. Targeting volume wasn't always something that people did. They just looked at results. They looked at box scores. BVP was the thing. It was the first place that everybody went to when they started playing baseball. And then, a year or 2 passed, and then Grinders Live became a thing, and more information was coming out on daily fantasy. Better projections were coming out for daily fantasy. And that was kind of the next era where there was a little bit more knowledgeable players, and Draftkings started their rise, right? Throwing overlay out there in 2013, 2014, right? Mm-hmm. And so you had the site wars, and Draft Street kind of fell to the back because they were 3 max and they tried to go to 5 max, but DraftKings had unlimited and FanDuel had unlimited entries allowed. And then that existed until around 2015, 2016, when automation became a thing, right? So it was more informed players. And then the automation era came into play when you could upload, you could use an optimizer to build a bunch of lineups. And that was around the end of 2015. And every site allowed it. The edit lineups button became a thing on DraftKings. And every site had an optimizer. Every information site had an optimizer. And so playing the game became different. And we had a bunch of people who had that stuff kind of, in the shadows beforehand, who were winning all the money during that time. And then all of a sudden, once it was in the hands of the public, they kind of disappeared. They stopped winning all the money.
Yep.
So you've had to go through multiple evolutions in this game to have been a viable player in 2012, a viable player in 2014, a viable player in 2016. And we're in another evolution now, I think, to continue being a viable player in 2019.
I totally agree. I mean, and the crazy thing to me is just how much better. I feel last year I was starting to see it, but this year it feels like it's gone to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean, the best example, I think, this year where you can just see how much better like the field has gotten is look at week 5. Will Fuller had done nothing.
Yep.
Will Fuller
He
would
was
have
like
never
30% owned, 40% owned.
Yeah, he would have been 5% or less every year previous. Maybe 2018 he's like 10%, but people have just gotten so smart. They're looking at the buy low models. They're looking at all these different factors, and just in general, collectively, everyone's gotten smarter.
More predictive. People are being smarter at separating the signal from the noise. People are being smarter at looking for predictive analysis versus descriptive analysis.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I know that I don't get this serious on my podcasts or on my Twitch stream as much. It's like, I love talking about this stuff. Like, if we were sitting down at like an event, this is how we would be talking, chat. Like, this is the conversations that we would be having, you know? But I try to be more entertaining, you know, than talking about this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, and you do a great job of that. No, that's what like
this is important
to do.
So like,
sure.
Germ, thank you very much for the 27 months. Can we get some VIP spam in the chat for another 2-year plus member of the channel? I kind of let this go. I don't mean like let it go, like let it slip, but like I feel like that this, to win now, to be a consistent winning player right now for the last year and moving forward, as always, when everybody zigs, you have to be able to zag, right? So everybody's using optimizers now, and everybody's building lineups with very good projections, and all the projections are very, very similar. I joked with Drew the other day on an email. I said, I sent out, like every Monday, I have to send out my list of prospective players for Best Buys to ESPN. And then Tuesday, Daily Roto comes out with their projections, right? I said, and I don't do it with projections on Monday. So I said, do you realize that the top 4 quarterbacks that I'm writing up in Best Buys are the top 4 rated quarterbacks in your model this week? I'm like, that's how efficient this game has become. That I can eyeball it and see who the top 4 projected players are going to be. You know, like that's just kind of where we are. And so if people are building 3 lineups, 20 lineups, 50 lineups, or 150 lineups using an optimizer, using really, really, really good projections, because there's a lot of sites, there's some sites, I guess, that have bad projections, but like for the most part, sites have pretty good projections at this point, right? Like the margins between the projections are very slim. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. That building 150 lineups, especially with as top heavy as tournaments are and as high as the rake has become, I think that hand building 3 lineups is the edge.
Yeah, I'm all for hand building lineups now, unless you've proven that you're really, really, really good at multi-entry. Like Chipotle and Papa Gates, those guys are just on a whole.
They're animals.
Level. Yeah, they're undoubtedly the greatest. There's a couple other guys that are doing machine learning and that are really getting sharp, and that's the trend that things are going to. But yeah, I agree with you. I think hand building teams, making sure you have really good correlations. One thing I've noticed with some of the top players that I've always done to a degree, but I'm making sure I do now, having 2 game stacks in your lineup. So you have your main 4-man stack, or 3 or 4 or 5-man stack,
and then a 1-and-1 coming back with a different game.
1-and-1 coming back. And there's just all these little nuances that all these like really high-end players are
that an optimizer is not going to do.
Yeah, that's not going to do every time. So I think if you're just jamming in projections from a site and doing 150 lineups, like that's probably not winning, and that was winning for a stretch of time. Like you said,
that's the thing. You have to be able to evolve, or you become a dinosaur.
So it's getting tough, and cash games are tough. I mean, I'm still out there grinding the cash games, and luckily a lot of people have fallen out of that. And the one reason I think I've been able to sustain playing cash games, and maybe I made a smidge of a mistake.
You're really
this year.
Consistent with your cash game lineups, though.
Yeah,
you're very, very consistent with your floor.
Yeah, and less so in DraftKings, but FanDuel have done a great job of that, and DraftKings historically have done a good job of that. But the other big thing is just not having a huge ego. That's almost always the reason people fall out of like the cash games, is they get too greedy, and they take on, they try to beat out other pros, and like, yeah, just trying to float along, I think is a huge key. So if you're playing cash, that's one, if you're still doing that, I think avoiding those like ego battles is a huge thing. And it's easy to do when you're on a hot streak. It's like, how can I lose? And then when you're losing, it's like, how can I possibly win? And a way to make sure that's sustainable is just avoiding playing games where you're just clearly losing to the rake.
I think that's extremely important, and paying attention to things like that is very important. Game selection is very important. And like I said, so if everybody's on James Harden, if 77% of a $500,000 $10 entry fee tournament is on James Harden, you're going to have to find different ways to be profitable, whether it's GPP or cash, because I guarantee you he was 100% owned in cash games that night. I haven't played NBA cash in 2 years.
You have to play him, and that's the thing. But you can see that the field is getting sharper, and there's still that's I used to have anxiety about missing any slates. Like once we get past football season, like I'll be skiing, I'll be taking days off, and just having fun. I mean, that's the one nice thing for me personally, anyways. But I still think it's fun. I think that DFS and like the big payouts are always going to be there, and the one big opportunity, just like we saw in poker, like we saw in DFS, is like there's going to be some really good stuff in sports betting. So hopefully we see some, kind of land grab wars that we saw in DFS in the sports betting markets, which we're already starting to see. And that's the one nice thing. I'm excited for other hybrid games to come out. And yeah, I still think DFS, there could be some like evolutions in DFS, like the showdown slate. That's something that, there's clearly a big edge there if you know what you're doing. I certainly don't, but like Drewby, what he's done is unbelievable.
Yeah, like that could
new game types.
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
Tiers.
Like
nobody plays tiers. Steve Boynton, long-term member of this channel. I met the dude in Chicago with his wife. We watched a playoff game. Was it Houston and Golden State last season? When I did that get together in Chicago at the bar in Old Town. He basically sticks to like the short slates. He loves like the late slate. And is there 100K up top? No, but like you can win. Right?
Oh, you can definitely win.
Because the big dogs aren't usually playing those slates, so your competition is now more casuals, right? So if you're an edge player, if you've got a bit of an edge, it's going to be larger on the side games than it is the main game.
Right. That's so well said. And that's like looking through my games, like my best tournament ROI is in the later slates because I make a cash game team and then I make a tournament team for like the 4 p.m. only or whatever. And you'd be amazed, like, because the chalk consolidates so much more on those shorter slates that you can gain an edge. So just looking for places where you can be contrarian, and that's clearly the name of the game. Finding those plays, like last week, I think on FanDuel, and obviously this is somewhat results oriented, but I did have some shares of him, and all the sharps were all over him. But like Shark is the same price as DJ Moore, and DJ Moore is a great play. But if you can find those plays that are literally like the exact same price, there's still a lot of equity. That's, to me, is something I see the top end guys doing a lot.
Yeah, just looking for that simple pivot play, right?
Totally.
Like everybody thinks that it's way too much to spend for Jalen Samuels, who's just sitting there behind my head, right?
He could be an awesome play this week.
We've been streaming players against Cincinnati all year, but a lot of people are going to play Fournette because he's better and a bigger name, and a lot of people are going to play Henry because of how many times this year Jacksonville's given up over 200 rushing yards, and it's been like 3 times they've given up over 200 rushing yards. And Henry, is going to get fed. And as Evan so eloquently put it, why don't they just throw this guy 3 screen passes a game? Right? And just let him run downhill at defensive backs because they're going to have to make business decisions. But like that leaves Jalen Samuels as extremely underowned, or Chris Carson extremely underowned in what looks like a tougher matchup, I suppose. But like, he's going to get the ball 20 plus times.
Yeah. No, that's true. Another question for you, Smith. So the chat's talking about you need to go places where others don't want to go. And I think that's so true. Like I loved, like this year, I've invested a ton of money on draft. It feels like the old glory, like, DFS days.
Yeah, Pete does nothing from April until kickoff, but fire season-long drafts, just firing best ball.
Insane amount. I mean, last year worked out really well, so it's easy to fire back. But I saw some of those same mistakes. You see some stuff. DFS golf, it's harder to make like egregious mistakes, but I'm still seeing some big mistakes there.
Golf is the hardest sport to build a bad lineup.
Yeah.
It's the hardest sport to look at a lineup and go, that lineup is terrible, because it funnels you into making specific plays based on the salaries and how they do the pricing.
It's true.
You have to try to make a bad lineup in golf.
Yeah, you do.
It would be hard to build like a low ball lineup. It would be hard to build low ball golf lineups.
Low ball is a great. Talk about another just innovative thing. I think That's one thing that you've just done a great job throughout your career in this industry, Smiz, is you've done innovative things like that. And like this cage match truly is one of those things. It's really cool.
It's not,
it's fun.
It's fun, but like I didn't create, like Draft Street used to have drafts.
Yeah. But
Did
like just the format of it, it's really
Did
fun.
They have salaries with their drafts? I forget.
I think they were just snake drafts.
They were just snake drafts. Yeah. Like I think the drafts with salaries is a lot of fun. It just adds that different thing.
Yeah. And hopefully have more formats like that. That's what I think. If you're grinding out an edge, look where other people aren't, be disciplined, be patient. And the one really beneficial thing that we have, like as an industry and everyone, like the sports betting thing is going to, be a rising tide for all the boats. And we're going to be in a really good position to capitalize on hopefully new games and just like, you remember Star Street Pick 5. Like I could see stuff like that coming out.
I remember we made Jeremy cry.
Oh, and that one day when I had to pick a wrong quarterback, what a disaster.
Was it Colt me and McCoy? You, or was it me and Tommy?
Oh, probably you and Tommy, because it was
like a Friday Grinders live show, and it was right before FSTA because we went to Prime. You, me, Bach, Jeremy Levine.
Jeremy lost CCR.
Yeah, and he lost CCR. Yeah, he was like, first you almost bankrupted my site last Friday because you gave out the winning pick 5, and now I've lost CCR and I have to pay $1,700 for steak.
That is one of my favorite DFS stories of all time, specifically with Dan Bach, because
he was sweating.
Dan turned bright red. I mean,
my wife's gonna kill me. My wife's gonna kill me.
Still pretty early in the industry, everything's on the come up, and we're at Prime. I mean, things are going well collectively. Like everyone's in a good place, but this is still a very expensive dinner. Jason Robbins comes in and orders,
the seafood tower. We all had the seafood.
But the seafood tower is the pinnacle of what makes the story so good. The seafood tower was like, it was massive. Like they ordered not just like a normal seafood, it was like the freaking gargantuan seafood tower. And Dan Bach has like a crustacean allergy.
He's allergic to shellfish.
Can't eat any of it. and the bill is just massive.
$1,700 bill at Prime Steakhouse.
CCR, and the last two people are Dan and Jeremy, and Dan is just bright red. Like I remember he was like
he was like mumbling under his breath. He's got like, like when you get really nervous, you get like those sweat beads on your nose.
Yeah,
he had the nose sweat beads, like the forehead sweat beads. Like,
and he's
just mumbling. Oh, my wife's gonna effing kill me. My wife's gonna kill me.
Because he had to be in it. Because like at that point, like everyone's on the come up. You have to prove like, oh, I'm man enough to play CCR. Jason's there. There's all these just interesting industry dynamics. That was classic.
And this is right after you were still working at Star Street at that point, right?
Yeah.
So you were the one that set that pick 5 on that Friday night.
Exactly. That's why it was.
It was the week before on Friday. You set the pick 5. I think Tommy and I went through the pick 5 on Grinders Live, and we picked the 5 winners. So basically everybody put like, the 2 or the $5, I forget how much it was. And so like Star Street was like,
I read 20 to 1 money, and like that was a printing press for us, but not of you guys, because that was moving the whole industry.
What were the odds on that? Like, so the odds of picking 5 was like, no, you get paid 21, but the odds were like 36
to 1. Real
1.
odds, if you said truly 50-50, it would be 1 in 32. 2,
okay.
4,
I knew
8,
it was in the
16,
30s.
32.
So like the house edge is massive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
unless
like
you screw something up.
Yeah.
Because it's only, if you give a free square, then it's only 16 to 1, right? if the other ones are 50-50, but there's a free square, it's 16 to 1. You're getting paid 20 to 1. So
it was Jeremy and Dan Bach that were left. And Jeremy's like, sure, you just robbed me, almost bankrupted my site last Friday, and now I'm going to have to pay for $1,700. And Dan's like, just sunken in his chair. Just, my wife's going to kill me. I can't. Guys, I didn't even eat the shellfish.
Oh, it's a brutal beat for him. Everyone else got to indulge on the most expensive thing, and he's just sitting there, and then he almost got stuck with the bill.
Somebody in chat asked, do you have any fitness props or bets going on right now?
I need to badly. I go to the gym every day. I was at the gym before. Been playing this bump out game, but what I want to do is another DEXA scan bet. I got down to like 13-14% body fat. I'm probably like 15 to 16 now, but this time of year, my discipline is just not good relative to where it can be. Like you're grinding, you get stuff done, then you get a good meal. My biggest leak probably is red wine, because my wife and I like to have red wine, and then once you have a couple glasses of red wine, you've already eaten dinner, the ice cream, or
order the
whatever
dessert.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bring
the dessert. The
card
dessert
over.
just sounds like, hey, yeah, I'll have the dessert. So yeah, I need something like that because it keeps you honest. I love
-1. That's free. Quick maths.
fitness props. They're the best. No more bench press though. That's off.
No more bench press props. Fair.
No.
How many years have we known each other? We met in 2012.
I have a good story
in the FanDuel chat.
You were in the chat, and I was just like, "Who the hell is this Al Smizzle guy?" Because you were coming in and like back then. I mean, $500 games were big.
Yeah, I was finding like 109s and 535s.
Yeah, nobody
knew who I was yet. I just came in.
Pool. And you were pretty solid, and I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And he was like fun and chat, and like you were like, yeah, you were. Most of the people who were coming in firing like that actually spoke in the chat were just like, it was like the Rudzias and like the other people, like the arrogant, like I'm gonna crush you, and you were coming in like having fun. And I was like, oh no, who's this guy?
And then every day, what was my game back then that I did?
Oh, you did the
Padres, stack the Padres.
Yeah.
The Padres were by the way, the Padres chat were the worst offense like in the history of baseball. And I said, I'm going to win. I made a 20-man tournament for like $1 or $5 every day on DraftKings. So you guys can do whatever you want. I'm stacking the Padres every day.
Yeah, it was great.
I was like, well, I'm going to win one of these.
Yeah.
And when I do,
so
it's
much fun. Those
awesome.
live finals were just so fun back then too.
And that was the first live final.
2 + 2 is 4.
Was the
-1. That's free. Quick maths.
First of all, I gotta hit a couple of these subs. First of all, Mass Cabana, thank you for the 4 months. C Maximus, thank you for the 4 months with the Twitch Prime as well. Once Harvey, thank you for the follow. The first time we met in person, because you were at the FanDuel football final that year, I made the Draft Street football final in 2012. The first time we met in person was the 2013 baseball final for FanDuel that I qualified for, and that was like the first season that I ever did Grinders live, and we had like 60 concurrent viewers, right?
Yeah, something
like that. Like we had between like 20 and 60 concurrent viewers every day, and like literally, I didn't know who was watching, and everybody at the final came up to me and was like, "Hey man, I love the show." I was like, "Really? People actually watch this stuff?"
Yeah, you could see that was like the start of the hockey stick. That
yeah.
Like we all could see that this was going to be something cool. And man, 2015, that was the pinnacle. I mean, I remember we started the boot camp, which was awesome. We met Papa Gates and those guys.
Yeah, Papa Gates and Chipotle boot camp graduates in the Chicago boot camp.
Yeah, but
I created that monster.
You
I did not create that monster.
You contributed to that monster. The biggest mistake I made financially ever was not swapping, which cost me whatever $1 million that Papa Gates and those guys won. But 2015 ESPN,
yeah,
and that was your dream, and it's really cool to see where it's come now. I mean, did you pinch yourself when you're doing these shows? And
it's
I
fun.
love Daily Wager. The Daily Wager segment's really good.
Thank you. It's not easy for me. Like that is the hard, because speaking very candidly, most people don't understand the world of daily fantasy, right? They don't. And from a content perspective, after you get outside of this daily fantasy bubble, they don't know what the game is. They don't really understand. Like, they play fantasy football, they understand that a little bit, but they don't really understand daily fantasy. So I don't know that they know what to do with the segment. So like, they put it on, but it's like, all right, so can you talk about 5 players, and the whole segment's going to be 2 minutes. So like, give us like one thing and then say you like the guy and let's move on. Yeah,
it was like high price, low price, and then you just had to keep it rolling.
Yeah, it's like it's just like, hey, Matt Ryan's great this week. He's thrown for 300 yards 8 times this year. Absolutely fantastic play in Tampa Bay. Is really bad on defense. Like, that's all I get to say. And then talk about it. Carson Wentz is the cheap quarterback this week. Seattle's been really giving to opposing tight ends. He's got 2 great ones. I like him at a low dollar value. So like, it's just like bing, 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 and you can't. There's no talk. There's no conversation. So for me, that's very tough.
Yeah, they've actually done a really good. I love Doug. I love
he's
Doug.
Great.
He was great when we were at ESPN, and or when I was at ESPN for a brief stint there. And it's a good show. The Sports Sheet, I'm a big fan of his. They get some good people on there. So
yeah, he's a good dude too. I met him at the fantasy football summit.
I met him in person. Yeah, I shot threes versus him at 2 a.m. in Vegas.
He's massive.
He's a good shooter, really good shooter.
I think he was a basketball player, wasn't he?
I don't.
He's like 6'5". He's a big dude, and
he's
like
a big guy,
like big dude.
Yeah, and we did. That was a battle. I shot well to win, but we were both like, I think we probably played 5 games out of 100, and I maybe averaged 67 out of 100. He averaged 65 or something. He's a really good shooter.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you mentioned, like ESPN was always the goal for me, and like I know I got laughed at that when we first started. No, I did. Like in 2013, it was like, okay, so like people asked us like, where do you want to go with this? Like, you're doing grinders. I was like, I want to. I had the steps all planned out, kind of like The Martian, right? Like, it's never just like, okay, I'm stuck on Mars with no way to get back to Earth, and I want to get back to Earth. Like, I was somebody that nobody had ever heard of, and I was like, I want to be the guy on fantasy football now. Was always the goal, right? So like, it's not about how do I get from nobody ever seeing me do content to being on fantasy football now. There's a bunch of little steps along the way. So like, I had to like start writing an article for this site named Re-Up Sports that never went anywhere and disappeared and whatever. And then I got on Grinders Live by like just pestering Dan Bach after winning the basketball championship in 2013. And then it was like, okay, I need to keep increasing my profile. It's like, I need to be on XM talking about daily fantasy. So when Grinders Live, rotogrinders got a show on that, I was like, I need to be the lead analyst. I need to be the guy, you know? And luckily I luck boxed my way into some leverage spots along the way. You know?
No, it's not luck. I mean,
no, I luck boxed my way. Because Dave was starting Fantasy Insiders. Dave was starting Fantasy Insiders, and Grinders was afraid they were going to lose me to Fantasy Insiders.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I had that, and it's like, well, what do you want? I'm like, well, when you get, I was like, because money was never the thing. You know? It's like, I'm not going to ask you for more money. I don't care about the money. It's like, I want, like, I need to be Rotogrinders lead analyst. I need to be like, that needs to be my title. I need to be, when you have a radio show, I'm the guy on the radio show, you know, and we're the first DFS show on SiriusXM. I need these things. I need to be able to pick the hosts that I work with on Grinders Live, you know, like don't stick me with the guys that I have no chemistry with and that are, you know, ball stoppers.
Right.
You know?
No, and it was smart, but like, it's like, what's the saying? It's like, you know, give yourself enough opportunities to be lucky. Like I'm
put yourself in a position to be lucky, you're going to get lucky. Right. Nobody is more lucky or less lucky than the next guy. Right? Nobody is more or less lucky than the next guy. Like, aside from winning the genetic lottery.
That's an interesting one. That's like a chicken and the egg thing for me. But in general, I agree with you. I don't think like, oh, this person's luckier than that person.
If you and I flip coins,
yourself in the positions.
If you and I flip coins, we're gonna the luck's gonna even out, right?
Right. And a lot of it is being put in position. And where I struggle with the luck thing, it's like being born in America. You know, being born with like there's certain things that are
being born with like drinking water, like accessible drinking water, like things like that. Like that's genetic lottery stuff that's completely out of your control. But you know, that's we're getting into a massive philosophical.
That's a long conversation. But I'm saying you have constantly put yourself in a position, and that's why I think like you've been fortunate. You've been like you've put yourself in position a lot, and like the media side I think is like very calculated, and that was like way less luck than other things. You put yourself in position to do that.
I appreciate that, man. Look, I mean, I've always said, like, there's better people than me that play daily fantasy. There's people that are way better than me at daily fantasy. There's people that are way better than me on camera and on the mic. But there's very few people that are as good at both that I am, and I'm willing to work harder than any of them.
Yeah, and you have busted your ass.
You know,
and you got the good setup. You were innovative with Twitch. I don't know. And the reason we're talking about this, I think everyone in chat, like,
the harder one works, the luckier one gets, chat says. And no, chat, I'm not drunk. It's flipping 11 a.m.
Have I ever seen you out of beer? Maybe once.
No, I don't drink.
I've seen you have Diet Coke about 200 times.
I will pound Diet Coke, that's for sure.
When was the last time you had an alcoholic beverage?
I don't drink. I never.
I know you don't drink. Have you had a drink? I mean, did you
I've tasted every drink. I know what everything tastes like.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen you have a drink. That's
no, I just don't drink.
There's one of the you know, Bo, who we both know.
Yeah,
he's in the same, like, very same category, or very similar to you. I think I think I've seen him have like one beer. And I mixed you guys. You've never even come close to that with a drink. Diet Coke. Is that your still go-to drink?
I've tried not to drink as much. I drink it like if I'm out to dinner every once in a while. Like I just drink water now. Water and juice.
Have you gotten any of the sparkling waters or anything like that?
No, I hate sparkling water.
Oh, see, that's the go-to.
I hate
I drink
Perrier.
a bunch of those.
Perrier and Pellegrino. I can't stand that stuff.
I like these Waterloos.
What is that?
There's something about the carbonation. They have these black cherry Waterloos. I really like them.
Nah, just give me ice water.
Yeah, that's good. It's strong.
That's all I need. Chat, you got any more questions for Pete before I let him get on with his day? He's got things to do.
Yeah, it's one of those grinds, you know.
It is.
I
gotta finish the article today. Like I wrote most of it yesterday, so I'm ahead of the game.
That's good. Yeah, this time of year is crazy. What, Thanksgiving, we got our freaking
yeah, we got to do a podcast early next week. I got to do a Thanksgiving first look. I got to do a main slate first look, and then I fly out on Wednesday.
Adam's egregious Thanksgiving takes again, which we get to berate him for, which is nice.
Shrimp lo mein giving.
Yeah. And shout out to your deli out here too. Have you told your guys about that at all? Your chat about that?
I don't talk about it too much, but there's a deli in Denver that my cousin opened that I own a part of.
It's awesome.
Named Rye Society. Good deli name.
I mean, that's a fantastic name.
Hold on. Rye Society. Boom. They make pastrami sandwiches, and they're really good. Oh, yeah. Just a little like walk-in deli.
I hope we get, by the way, last thing on, my team was bad. Al's team is bad too, but just better than mine.
My team is bad too. It's just less bad, is what you're saying?
Exactly. I think it's really tough. I mean, I got so unlucky. Like there's other weeks where we had like just a ton of free plays. And something else to chat. I have done so much better when there's those free plays. And yes, the edge is getting less and less, but in general, if you look at just my results and like how I've analyzed this in a big way. My best nights and slates or whatever are when they're obvious plays. Like some people hate that.
Yeah.
I play those guys, let the other people make mistakes. Because
I've always said that.
Yeah. It's always been the case for me.
Yeah.
Like
I always do better. I always do better
things.
when it's a clear and easy path.
Yeah.
And it's like I self-deprecatingly joke. It's like I'm not smart enough to make the other plays. You know?
Yeah. I can't like distinguishing like some of the plays is just so hard. And people make mistakes, and I like having those like clear value plays because then you get like I like figuring out of the studs who's the best play, right? Like when you have the clear value, when you're looking through like the garbage here, like I have no clue. Like I guess I'd take Balaj over like Scarborough or something like that. Like Captain Scarborough.
God, the value running backs on this slate
it's
are
gross.
So trash.
Yeah,
like from 4K to 6K in that range, right? So like, who do you have? That's at all good. So Scarborough, I
should have taken Kareem Hunt in play. Somewhere.
I think where though? How could you have gotten up to him? He's super expensive. Pollard for his 6 touches is 4,700. Geis is 4,700 maybe. Geis against Detroit, but like, is AP gonna play? Like if AP doesn't play, then fine, give me Geis. But like if he plays, then who cares? 8 touches. Tariq Cohen.
Hunt's the one guy I feel like we missed on. That's the one guy that the more I think about it, he's not rating well in like projections right now.
I just couldn't fit him.
More I think about it, he could be really just on DraftKings. He just scores well. And I take freaking Scarborough, who's not going to see a target. What a donkey!
He's 1,400 more though.
I know.
Last question: how's your golf game?
So my index is very volatile. I got down to a 4 index this summer. Like I said, I played a lot. I'm a member at a club, and we have a big member guest called the Bagpiper at Cherokee Country Club. I was playing great then, a lot of 70s rounds. But it's bad now. I shot 90 yesterday. But yeah, yesterday the signal is actually stronger than the results. I've been taking a lesson with a guy and really working on getting a bigger turn. And it's cool. The guy I work with, it's South Broadway Country Club. Shout out to that spot if you're in Denver. Trackman. So, looking at the swing speed and the path and all that stuff. I've increased my swing speed on like the driver 3 or 4 miles an hour. And obviously that translates into your irons. So I'm hitting the ball farther. I just don't know sometimes where it's going relatively. But yesterday I had 2 shots in particular where I just nutted the ball, felt great, 15 yards over the flag. And like one of them, I hit it 15 yards over the flag into a down slope in the rough. It cost you 2 or 3 strokes. So long story short, I love golf.
That's just weight room right there.
some weight room, but also like I'm really working. I mean, you've played a lot of golf. Like if you
In
can
the
get
past,
your
yeah.
lower body engaged, I'm really working on just getting a bigger turn and activating the glutes. Something Tiger talks about a lot. Trying to work on that.
Yeah, Tiger. Like, okay, I used to go to this place called Golf Tech, right?
Love Golf Tech.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you've been. So Chad, if you've never heard of Golf Tech,
my buddies founded that.
Oh, there you go. I used to take lessons here in Westwood when they had one in Westwood.
Yep.
So they strap you in. You have like, it's almost like if you had, like when they do video games and they have the ping pong balls all over them, but it's not ping pong balls, but you have like a shoulder harness you put on and a waist harness so they can tell exactly what degree you're turning to and when you turn and what positions your body is in, so that they can help put you in better positions. There's cameras behind you, in front of you, above you, and then there's impact cameras for the ball. And so they can put your swing next to somebody else's swing. And like my golf teacher was obsessed with Tiger, so he'd always pull up like Tiger swing. I was like, can you stop pulling up Tiger? It's like, I can't turn like him. Like, you see how Tiger at the top of his backswing gets here and his hips and his shoulders are completely perpendicular to one another. It's like, yeah, that's not something that a normal human can do. So stop asking me to do that. I can't get that much torque.
That's so funny. Someone in chat just said, which is true. I'm not trying to build up the thing too much. I know Tiger doesn't care about like he's just checking the box.
Yeah, he's fulfilling a thing.
I really, because I can get mental with golf, and I'm going to do everything I can to be in a good state of mind, getting comfortable with the course. The pressure for me is like a lot of my buddies are going to be out there, and like people are already betting on what I'm going to shoot. So
it's different.
It's not the Tiger pressure. It's the gallery and my friends and everything else.
It's different to play in front of a gallery.
Exactly. But it'll be fun. I'm excited. Riv's a great place, and I'm definitely going to get some sushi with you, Al.
Yeah, let's go to Kazunori. I'll take you to Kazunori this time. That or Katsuya, one of the two, depending on if you want to sit down or if you want. Like,
I have sushi booked tomorrow. I want to get sushi today.
Nice. That's 2 good days if you ask me.
Yeah, very good.
He's a legend. legend.